Hello and welcome to Maverick Dreamers and Thinkers. I'm Chloe Cho. How often do you show up at a function to find that beverage orders are done via the WhatsApp messaging app? Those messages are received by a cute little winking robot named Misty, perched on the bar counter as she signals when your drinks are ready.
Your glass of red wine is ready.
That was my recent experience in Singapore at UIB's 6th anniversary as Misty charmed guests, showing that a chatbot can get a tad more personal as a bar bot in a practical example of how conversational IoT capabilities via WhatsApp and real-time voice point-of-sale integration can be applied to our daily realities. Misty didn't quite have the mobility of R2-D2, therefore was not able to deliver drinks, but the experience did get me wondering how far robotics and AI will take the fourth industrial revolution forward and transform our world. Here's multi-award-winning tech entrepreneur Toby Ruckert, founder and CEO of UIB that struck up a partnership with Misty Robotics and breathed the life into Misty. You managed to educate Misty. She can talk to you, she winks at you, is doing so many things. Now that you have your sort of baby, your little small toddler, so to speak, how has the whole experience been?
So Misty is our latest partner. It's one of our partners, Misty Robotics. They developed in a crowdsourced funding campaign, I have to say, one of the world's first fully programmable robots, which for us is another interface for people to experience human-to-machine communications. We have connectors to WhatsApp, we have connectors to digital humans like holograms, we have connectors to text messaging, voice messaging, but the exchange with a cute little robot is quite something. There's a level of acceptance in the human mind for a robot. Probably the seed was planted as early as the first Star Wars movie with R2-D2.
How has it been trying to get Misty to do things?
It's relatively easy. Our AI is like a brain where you have I call it an intent. You understand what the user wants, so you can give the proper reply. How you deliver this experience, that conversation, whether it's in the form of an API that calls a robot to say something, to record something, to wink at you, or whether it is, say, an assistant on WhatsApp that asks you questions and gives you replies, is triggered by the same brain, by the same intelligence. So for us, we're probably one of the only companies in the world that own the entire stack, from the messaging part to the AI brain and to the end connectors where the experience is being delivered on, like a robot. It's very easy to integrate. Even school kids can use it.
For UIB chatbot, I have noticed that UIB's messaging system, WhatsApp system, is pretty much on point. But when I go on to some of the chatbots, whether it's a bank or postal service, it is so awful. It is so awful because they have their standardized answers. Is it simply because we're at the beginning stage?
I made the same mistake. No offense to anyone in that sense, because we think that AI is a savior. But AI is only part of the solution. So the real solution lies in the collaboration between human intelligence and artificial intelligence. And I will give you an example. To me, this is a real golden age that's coming. For example, a chatbot, even our own chatbot, cannot know all the answers. It's just impossible. So, we don't, as humans, also don't know all the answers, right? So how can we expect a bot to be able to do that? But we as humans, sometimes we have a sixth sense. What the other person actually wants. AI cannot have that. But it can have much bigger data sets to reply from. When we notice there are questions or the conversation goes in a direction where the user maybe expresses some discontent or doesn't really get the correct answers, we automatically hand that conversation over to a live agent. And the combination of these two is very successful because it doesn't per se replace humans, which makes AI acceptable to humans to work with. And at the same time, it gives the end user a much, much better experience. To me, the secret lies in the collaboration.
As much as there's a lot of hype that AI is going to replace a significant amount of what human beings do, whether it's in the workforce or whether it's in the retail sector or whatnot, that even going forward 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now, it'll always be sort of that integrated, collaborative type of business model.
That's my personal belief, and there will certainly be things where AI will totally automate a number of things, yeah? But just to give you a few nice examples of AI and human collaboration, picture 5 years out, the dishwasher has just finished washing, and you have a family WhatsApp group, and the dishwasher is saying, I'm done, but now who is clearing the dishes out? Yeah. Because that's the big question.
We just need to create a robot that clears the dishes.
Well, I think that's going to be far away. But imagine the next level of AI will say, Toby, I've seen you've not responded to my request the last 5 times. Always some other members in the family deal with it. How about your turn? It could save a few marriages, perhaps. I don't know.
So when it comes to Misty, for her to reply, is the coding process really difficult? What does it take for Misty to take beverage orders like that?
Actually, this entire idea was conceived, executed, and delivered in 48 hours.
To integrate the AI framework, Jay Shaw, a veteran AI expert who recently co-founded And How Intelligence Collaborates with UIB. Jay says the process of building an AI system is similar to how parents establish some basic rules and boundaries for a baby or toddler and adjust that environment as the child grows. Here, Jay has been able to identify 8 key factors linked to human behavior and psychology that help us make decisions.
When you're trying to build artificial intelligence systems, you start with basic rules environments. So imagine a child that's just been born and doesn't understand a lot of things. Then you update that to create a smart rules environment where the child, using that analogy, now you're having a conversation saying, if you eat your greens, I'm going to get you a dessert. If you're good, you get to play with your toys. So now what you're doing in a digital world, you're using a lot of the combinations of these formulas, and you're creating interdependencies between the formulas to create the right summary. So that's the smart rules environment. The child is now a toddler. Toddlers were able to walk around. But as a parent, you're constantly monitoring what this child does. So if the child sees 3 holes in the wall, thinks that they can put a finger in there, as a parent, you're going to warn the child it's dangerous. So these kind of environments in a digital world, what you're doing is you're creating so many different rules and structures that the human mind can't even contemplate. So you're using computer systems to automate a lot of these various different rules and optimize its functions to get you the best summary. But you're constantly watching for any errors taking place.
When you're looking to integrate AI into a system, whether it is part of a robot or whether it's part of some IoT gadget, what are the 8 types of things that you look at?
The system needs to understand the essence of human psychology, or the various different factors that contribute to how human beings actually make decisions. And I discovered that there are 8. The first factor is our interests. Whatever we read, watch, and listen to has influenced our personality, has influenced our interests. This is some of the reasons why some of the biggest tech companies in the world actually want to know what you're reading, watching, and listening to. The second factor is our connections. The people we're connected to influence how we make decisions. But it's not just the people. Our connections with devices and objects also influences us as well. Third factor is our values, because only you know what's right and wrong for yourself and what's good and what's bad for yourself. The fourth factor is time. Time takes on hundreds of different equations. What are you doing on that particular moment in time? The date itself, the amount of times you do certain things, the sequences and so forth, all influence what you're going to do next. Then you got weather patterns, influences human behavior. Location. We are on vacation, we do different things. When we're home, we do different things. Financial status and health. These are the 8 factors that completely govern human behavior. So in a smart home environment, you have all these different types of equipment. You have the air conditioning system, you have lighting, you have music, you have heating sensors.
What's interesting is that people tend to think that AI is driven by this supercomputer, but in essence, it's actually human beings that are teaching it how to think and how to come up with the algorithms. So based on the 8 factors that you mentioned, it creates the formula that could potentially open up new revenue streams and do all sorts of things for business.
Absolutely, but majority of the companies are not even using it this way.
Tech veteran Daisy Jiang has witnessed exponential growth of technology over the past 2 decades, having started work in enterprise software and consumer mobile advertising in the San Francisco Bay Area before she moved to Hong Kong and then Singapore. Stepping into UIB as a director of operations, Daisy expects AI and robotics to get woven into our social fabric.
It's really exciting to be in this area because this is where all the growth is going to be. This is where our society will be fundamentally changed. Our imagination even can't necessarily show us all the possibilities. You know, we have movies and sci-fi books and all of these things. We're starting to see elements of that incorporated into real life and into the way we work and into the way we play and communicate. But I think technology will continue to surprise us in ways that maybe we didn't anticipate. I mean, having an electrical car infrastructure and having all sorts of electrical powered devices is going to allow us to live in a way that our kids can't imagine not having, and that we had no idea could be done. So it's a very interesting discussion to have, to think about what each generation will bring to our world and how we shape it together based on our different perspectives.
AI expert Jay Shaw says the conveniences aside, there are economic benefits to having a smarter home, as he shares the unexpected findings of what happened when he nudged his wife and 2 kids through an experiment, albeit with much persuasion. Using IoT, we can get coffee machines to start, we can get vacuum cleaners to clean up the room. There's so many things that we can do. So is this really just the tip of the iceberg in your view?
Well, let's look at an experiment that I've done in my own home. And at first the family thought I was nuts. So everyone kind of wears a fitness monitor, and that also tracks their sleep patterns. We've got temperature sensors in the rooms. That also, then you've got air conditioning control systems, lighting control. Everything is completely on a smart environment. We sleep differently, each one of us. And we don't need the same temperature for the whole night. And the second part is noise. A lot of noise, a lot of fan noise creates muscle fatigue, which actually then tires you out. So by actually monitoring the sleep patterns of my family members, I was able to then reconfigure when the air conditioning systems come on, what sort of temperature, what sort of fan speed. And I noticed that their sleep actually got really, really good. And it optimized their sleep throughout the night. They were less grumpy when they woke up. And the best part is our utility bills went south.
Oh, wow.
We actually saved on our utility bills. And this was an unusual. That was not the reason I kind of created this internal test environment, but it was a great output.
But what happens when IoT devices don't understand your command? For example, this is what sometimes happens to me. Okay, Google, play Virgin Radio Paris on TuneIn.
Streaming Virgin Radio from TuneIn.
Hello? Okay, Google, play NRJ Radio Paris on TuneIn.
Sorry, I'm not sure how to help with that yet.
For whatever reason, my Google Home device gets dumb from time to time, even though my command is exactly the same. Or I think it is. What's going on?
So if you've got a smart home speaker, one of the big brands, when you want something done, you've got to actually use the exact sequence of command to be able to initiate something. So if you want to switch the lights on, you've got to tell it the exact way.
Is it because the machines are still dumb, or is it because AI is still developing?
The systems have not been programmed enough to understand exactly what you mean if you change the sentence around.
I lose my temper at my Google Home. At some point, I say, you idiot. So am I teaching my Google Home
You're not
something?
really teaching it because I wish it was that simple. I wish. What's happening is that feedback is going to a group of programmers that's listening to, these are the set of commands that people are now asking for. If it's a sequence, it's fine. If the pauses sometimes are out of sync, or you're speaking too fast, or feels like there is an overlap of words, then it's not going to understand.
And I've also tried different languages. I started switching languages, and then the system goes berserk. Are we at the initial stages, and which is why it's a little bit clunky?
I think it's the initial stages of people trying to program systems. You've got to program it to actually understand human behavior. From a human-to-human communication, if I'm asking you to switch the TV off, turn on the lights, turn on the air conditioning, and so forth, I'm going to be able to do that in one sentence from a human-to-human perspective. So why do we have to do it differently if we're talking to machines?
With the further progress that we're seeing of 5G technology, which is supposed to connect all these millions, if not billions, of devices around the world, that people need to start understanding the right command to be able to have a convenient life. Who educates us?
That's an interesting one, but in terms of the frustration level, it will go up because the speed at which you should be able to initiate things will actually increase massively. So there is still a lot of learning to be done in terms of how companies are forming their teams and putting the right mindset and the right intelligence in that team to be able to then build the right solutions that will interact with human beings.
Our level of frustration with connected devices will depend on how much of that human element gets built into AI systems, as startups like UIB and How Intelligence work feverishly around the clock, seeking partnerships with companies, gadget makers, and even hotel chains to make smart living a seamless feature in our daily lives. The effort will require a lot of effort behind the scenes to resolve the many kinks to win over reluctant and skeptical consumers who may not be sold on smart living yet, due to a lack of familiarity as well as privacy and data security concerns.
The real pain points that UIB can help solve is not necessarily well understood by enough people yet. With each additional device that we bring into our home, that means a whole new app that we might have to download onto our phones, or we might have to get a smart speaker to talk to Alexa or Google Assistant to be kind of the hub managing our smart homes. So that level of complexity will quickly mushroom out of control, and therefore, I don't think most people want to become the IT support of their own home. We just simply want the results of the lights being a certain dimness, the temperature being set at the right level, and having everything in our home run smoothly.
Right. So everybody wants the results without the hassle, and that's where AI comes in. Is it as simple as that?
That's where the combination of AI and the connectedness between all the devices, so that you know where the messages should be going at any given moment, so that everything works seamlessly.
So would a company like UIB, would it be a competitor to Google Home, Amazon's Alexa, or does it actually become sort of not like a police officer, but more like a traffic control officer?
I think we would like UIB to be considered as more of a friend and a collaborator. We can work within whatever environment you have, and we fill the gaps to make it easier for you overall. You can simply do the direction without having to go through another layer or another quote unquote central command in order to get a multitude of different types of commands.
There are an estimated 1.4 billion or something WhatsApp users. This is a huge market worldwide. And yet, why is it so difficult to get people to understand? Is it simply that the technology is moving so quickly that you have a lot of people who have difficulty in understanding, figuring out that gap?
If you can show them very quickly what it means to just quickly chat a small message, and instead of having it go to your friend or your family member, it actually goes to your friendly coffee maker in your house, or it goes to the lights in your house, or the robotic vacuum cleaner, so that you can just communicate with it seamlessly as if it's any other person that you're used to talking to.
Are you using AI? Are you using the bot in your home? A Google Home device, an Alexa, a Misty, a UIB? Are you doing anything at home?
Oh, in my home personally? So we have chosen, because our kids are young, we have chosen to hold off on the technology a bit. I want them to be the ones driving the adoption in our home. And I want to give them the responsibility of learning how to set things up and how to communicate and chat. So as they get a little bit older, I think they're going to want to have a house that is much more connected. And so they can have that as their tech project to work on.
Whether it's young children or fears about the unknowns from connected gadgets and appliances communicating amongst themselves, as people hold off on smart living, much remains to be seen whether IoT, Internet of Things, becomes mainstream. For Toby, armed with numerous international patents, the wait has been long in the tooth as he anticipates the dawning of a smarter era, helped by the rollout of fifth-generation networks and ISMs. In short, for an information security management system with a set of policies and procedures to systemically manage an organization's sensitive data and limit the impact of a security breach. Despite that level of advancement, why is it still such an uphill battle? When it comes to raising funds, when it comes to winning over investors? Is it simply that people don't get it?
You're talking about a market that is potentially extremely big. And when you talk a very big market, in order for that to work out, you need different ingredients to come together for it to be successful and to fall on fertile grounds. I'll give you an example. Have you ever made popcorn?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you know that when you put popcorn in the popcorn maker, nothing happens for a while?
Yeah.
But suddenly all happens at the same time? We've spent the first 4 years really focusing on our IP, on our technology, on our platform, because we're dealing with human-to-machine communications. So there are real-life consequences when, for example, a machine accidentally turns something on or off. So the security of this has to be very strong. You're dealing with personal data from people because they're communicating with their things, with each other. If it's successful, and when it's successful, it has to very quickly scale not just to 1 or 2 million people, but to potentially hundreds of millions of people. Because that market of connected devices in the next 2 years is going to be about 1 billion devices being sold annually. So you have security, privacy, and scalability as major issues that you need to solve. But now with 5G coming, all of these devices will be pre-connected. There will be eSIMs, That's the second ingredient. It's the number of devices that you may know that you have or that you don't have. The second one is 5G as a technology driver, drives this connectivity automated. And the third item really is that manufacturers treat it as a commodity. It becomes a standard for a device to be connected. With all of this, you suddenly have market environments that will make it go from 0 to 1, not from 0 to 0.1, pretty much overnight. And the last 6 years have not been like this. That's why it was an uphill battle. This 2020 is the first year where you see manufacturers saying we need this, where consumers have expressed interest, and where the technology in terms of AI, in terms of messaging, in terms of connectivity is coming together in a way, that hopefully can pop that market.
Your glass of red wine is ready.
When you look back at your AI journey, going through 10, 20 years, you can see the level of progress and you can see how it's become far more ubiquitous in today's day and age. How do you see the progression down the road? Do you think it's really going to become something that becomes a part of our social fabric?
Yes, I would love to see that. All this information is out there. You're marrying this together to be able to truly create the most detailed psychographic profile for humans. Now, you might think it's scary, but think of it if it's completely automated and kept on an edge computing device. So edge computing meaning most of the functions that run the AI modules are done at the equipment or that's on your site, at your home or whatever. So now in a family setting, the system knows you're about to come home and knows that you like the temperature at 22 degrees. So 10 minutes before you walk into the house, the air conditioning systems come on and it brings the temperature to 22 degrees. So when you walk in, it's pleasant. And let's say you then change into your gym wear and go for a run. So it shuts everything down, which again, from a power and utility consumption perspective, it's automating that. You come back, imagine all of these functions taking place automatically because the engines have learned how you want to experience the technical world or the machine world outside.
What kind of future do you envision?
The opportunity is massive. Think about the number of devices that are going to be exploding, driven by some of these market factors like the adoption of 5G, right? So all of these previously unconnected devices will have the opportunity to be connected, and therefore some solution has to help manage the numerous exponentially increasing number of connections between these devices and between people and these devices.
Whoopsie. What else can Misty do now, aside from receiving drink orders?
Anything that a chatbot can do, anything that Alexa can do, a robot can do, as long as it can receive a voice message and play a voice message. Ultimately, it's just an audio interface. But it also has a display, so you can display text on it. It has a camera. So for instance, you could make Misty watch your desk while you're going away.
Oh, yeah. Excellent for hot desking, you know. As AI gets further integrated and developed, can a robot like Misty become as smart as dogs, for example?
I don't think so. I think it's very different. The smartness from dogs is, in my personal philosophy, is governed by nature. When there are some earthquakes coming, the rats run away, you know, or the animals in general become very nervous, yeah? So a dog will sense somehow when there's something wrong. A Misty will not sense that, yeah? But a dog cannot easily call for help. So that's the difference. You can program a specific job, a specific process of tasks to be followed when the sensors detect some situation.
Perhaps robots like Misty and dogs will coexist, and dogs will remain man's best friend. Hope you were able to get a glimpse of what a smarter world driven by Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and robotics would be like, as we thank Toby Ruckert, Daisy Jiang of UIB, and Jay Shaw of And How Intelligence for their insights. Next week, we delve into the aspect of cybersecurity. What are the vulnerabilities and how do you prevent your phones and connected devices from getting hacked? Remember Jeff Bezos and his personal dilemma? Thank you so much for your company. Stay tuned for another dynamic episode on Maverick Dreamers and Thinkers. Do subscribe and give us a quick review. If you're on social media, do reach out and share what you think of the podcast. I'm Chloe Cho. Never stop dreaming.